Hey, welcome everyone to the first edition of Talks and Takes 2023. Thanks for joining us again. As we mentioned at the end of last year, we're going to do these once a quarter this year. So we appreciate you taking time today. We've got a great lineup. And of course, you couldn't start off the new year in January with having a little bit of discussion about what the top trends in our industry are. If you've looked at any of the industry magazines, been on any of the webinars, you've seen a lot of trends, but we're going to top all that today because we're going to get reports from SCW, ACSM, MindBody, Les Mills, ABC, Men's Health. So we're going to talk a lot about trends today and see if we can glean some of the more meaningful ones for sure. And before we start, I want to make sure that we recognize all our panelists again. Sara, Bill, and Blair, thank you all for joining us and contributing your time and your expertise and your talent to serve everybody this year in 2023. We appreciate it a great deal. And IHRSA, thanks for helping us get all this together and producing the show. So first, we're going to start off with sort of a few minutes just to have a little bit of discussion. I want to share a quick video based out of Canada about active aging, and then we're going to hit a few quick topics before we get into the real lineup for today.
What will your last 10 years look like? Will you be quick enough for a game of tag with your grandchild? Strong enough to embrace every moment? Will you grow old with vitality? Or get old with disease? It's time to decide. The average Canadian will spend their last 10 years in sickness. Change your future at makehealthlast.ca.
A little bit of a hard-hitting video there to talk about the end of life's years. And I remember Dr. Kenneth Cooper, who I worked for almost a decade, would always talk about, through all his research at the Cooper Clinic, particularly with senior population, he would always say, what you really want to do is you want to square off the curve. Instead of having this long declining 10-year end of dependent life, most people want to live a long, full life and then have it end gracefully and quickly. And I think this video obviously drives that point home even more.
Yeah, what's the quote? I'm sorry, Sara. If I knew I was going to live this long, I'd have taken a lot better care of myself.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Dr. Cooper would also say most people, this has been probably 15 years ago when I got this stat from him, he said more people spend more money on their health in the last 10 years of their life than the previous 60 or 70 years of their life all combined. It's a pretty startling statistic.
And somebody's asking for that video. I do think, Sara, right before we came on, I wish everybody in the world would see that video. I think this would be a really good video for every health club to share on social media. So I believe we're sharing the resources that we're using here, right? So we'll have the link to that video so everybody can use it. But great time to post something like that on social media and talk about what it takes when you're looking at that to be on the left-hand side of that screen. That split screen is pretty brilliant piece of marketing there.
Well, it was pretty fascinating that when I was looking at the American College of Sports Medicine trends, for the first time, functional fitness programs for older adults showed up. And it didn't show up as number 10 or 9 or 8. You know, usually it climbs the ladder. It showed up and it was number 4. And that's a huge change.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also interesting, you know, Canadians' medical situation is a little different than the U.S. Well, quite different than the U.S. You know, follow the money, you know, so having that kind of messaging in Canada makes complete sense based on the government subsidy of socialized medicine. You know, it's a whole different world. You know, if the U.S. would start being more proactive and the clubs would be more proactive in driving that message through the community, like we've talked about in the past, getting to that next 5% of the population is dramatic in cost savings.
Yeah, and I'll cover the McKinsey research in a little bit, but one of the takeaways from the McKinsey research is although life expectancy has doubled over the last 100 years or so, the percentage of years that you spend on the right-hand side of those screen hasn't changed. So that's the big challenge, and one of the things that McKinsey is calling out, and I'll cover that when we get to that topic. But the percentage of years in not being optimized isn't really any different. Gone from 3 years to 7 years to 10 years or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's just the longevity.
Right.
It's not the activities of daily living and the quality of life.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's still costing trillions to America through Medicare, Medicaid.
Yep.
And there's still constant battles with insurance.
Yeah,
So,
and it's a lot of the, you're right, Sarah, but a lot of the anti-aging have now said, we're not in anti-aging, we're in healthy aging. It's not about reversing aging necessarily, it's about extending health. And it's got to be trillions and trillions of dollars.
Yeah. Yeah, the good news is on the aging spectrum, many of those mature adults, if we want to call them that, have developed better habits than most of the other generations, right? They're more conscious of their nutrition. They're more conscious about being active, not necessarily going to the gym, but being active in day-to-day life, taking walks, doing different things like this, managing their stress. So there is some good examples out there for sure.
Yep.
I heard a new acronym on my sports radio talk show here in Dallas. I bet even my other panelists haven't heard before. Do you know what NARPS stands for? NARPS, NARPS?
No.
Non-athletic regular people.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, non-athletic regular people, NARPs. And we want to draw those NARPs into our clubs and gyms and classes and training so that they can enjoy all the benefits that a lot of former athletes are familiar with.
All
How do
right.
you do an avatar for that, right?
Yeah, that's great. Awesome.
Well, before we get into our topics, just a couple quick housekeeping items. Just want to make sure everybody has the IHRSA annual convention and trade show on their calendar. It's March 20th through 22nd in beautiful San Diego, one of the best places that IHRSA has their conventions. It's always beautiful there. So hope you'll join us there at IHRSA. It'll be another great show. And then the day before, March 20th is actually a Monday. The day before on Sunday, Rex is hosting their annual pre-IHRSA event at Petco Park with a guest speaker, Leo Battani, who talks and has written several books about peer review, peer innovation, et cetera. So it'll be a great time in San Diego. We hope to see a lot of you there. And the price break ends on February 1st. So if you're planning to go to IHRSA, you might want to go ahead and sign up so you get that price break before February 1st, which is just around the corner.
Great. All right. I wanted to call out a book written by Pete Moore called Time to Win Again. So I read a lot of business books. Pete wrote this book so that you read it on a flight or something like that. And there's caricatures from all across the fitness industry. 3 of the 4 of us are in here. I'm not going to tell you who's not, but 3 of the 4 of us are in Pete's book. So this book has resonated with me for a couple of reasons. He writes it from the perspective of going into the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic, and hence the title Time to Win Again. I'll tell people frequently that, all the analogies I use are sports, construction, and war, right? So if you can't, that's what I'm going to use. That's what I tie to. So this book really resonated with me. I think he wrote it in a way that sort of builds. Like, so if there's one thing you're going to do, take that first one. And it's not exactly that linear, but you'll find the more sort of things that companies would do that are more together, or things that leaders would do when they have everything more together and more aligned, or sort of towards the end. But he writes it in such a concise, practical way that for me, I have about 10 different pages dog-eared that are so important for where I am right now today. So I just got to hand it to Pete Moore, group at Halo, his whole team at Integrity Square. Loved it. And if you haven't got it yet, I think we'll put the Amazon link in here on how to get this book. It's a fun read. And, I've always gotten a kick out of Pete Moore. He's done a ton for our industry. So that I've really enjoyed the book. By the way, it was motivating. It actually, you know, because I think maybe because of the sports analogies, but it was very motivating for me. All right.
Thanks, Blair. Appreciate that. Right, so we'll go into our topics now, and if you remember in our previous episodes, we got about 8 topics. We're going to go through them pretty quickly, and we're going to pass around. We're going to spend a lot of time on trends today, but we do have a couple of other topics as well. So,
Christine, will you put up those topics?
Yeah, put up the slide topic.
Okay. This is me. Okay. There's a recent McKinsey Health article that just came out, and it's about all those things that we were talking about from that video, from that Canadian video on last 10 years of your life. You could almost say that is sort of the, you know, the spear point of this article. A couple of things I want to call out in it. They talk about being inside and outside the healthcare matrix. And I'll just tell you that our industry is completely outside the healthcare matrix. And I think we keep trying to push ourselves back inside the healthcare matrix. And they're saying, it's almost like they're saying, stay outside, you're gonna take better advantage outside. There are 8 key things they cover in this. 8 key points that they challenge. 1, the suffering we endure to achieve longevity is acceptable and unnecessary. 2, mental, social, and spiritual health are as important as physical health and are deeply interconnected. 3, health is mostly about our ability to function, not just about disease and death. Health exists on a spectrum. We can't achieve optimal health if we don't define it, measure it, or strive for it. Most drivers of health sit outside conventional healthcare systems and are modifiable. In fact, of the 23 things that they say contribute to health, 19 are outside the healthcare matrix. Achieving great health is as much about what we pursue as what we avoid. People are more than patients. They deserve to be empowered with greater health literacy. History suggests that the societal adaptations required to improve health are feasible. Every person and institution on earth has a role to play. Okay, now what I want to do is I just want to give you an example. Then I'm going to turn it over to you guys here. I want to give you an example of how they describe under every one of those 8 elements how to think about it when you're inside the healthcare matrix and what it looks like outside the healthcare matrix. So I'm going to take number 4, health exists on a spectrum. We can't achieve optimal health if we don't define it, measure it, or strive for it. They say inside the healthcare matrix, health is framed almost exclusively in the negative. Achieving a clean bill of health means that you haven't been diagnosed with a disease or a major risk factor of disease. Patients are categorized based on the level of the problem. A standard acuity table consists of 4 levels: stable, moderate risk, complex patient, and high risk patient. The best is stable. Inside the matrix, the concept of achieving optimal health, this is so good, is relegated to the domain of biohackers, affluent middle-aged people in high-income countries, professional athletes, and celebrities. This is McKinsey doing this research, right? Outside the matrix, we realize that health exists on a spectrum with a negative and positive or optimal end. We realize that achieving better than mediocre health is feasible in large numbers. Outside the matrix, we aspire to be more than not sick, not disabled, not suicidal. Outside the matrix, we recognize that striving to achieve optimal health is highly effective prevention strategy. I'm not reading the whole thing. I'm giving you some of the touch points here. They cover that on all 8 of these. And I think, and with some of the frameworks they use in here, like how to define what optimal health is and what poor health is across 4 different elements, which is physical, mental, social, and spiritual, and then how that looks on a spectrum. I would take this article. I am taking this article. I would ask everybody to take this article, read it several times, understand it, think about the principles when they say outside the matrix, and just think about where we might go as an industry, you might go as a company. I think it's an extremely important article, and I think it's perfect to kick off the year for us.
Sadly, we're totally outside. And we need to be pulled inside. And what's interesting,
I'm not sure I agree with that. I'm not sure I agree with being inside the matrix.
Yeah, but like I look at, I know I've told you guys about going to the Mayo Clinic and doing that executive checkup thing. And they look at those, 4 elements, mental, physical, blah, blah, blah. They want people to come in before they get sick. But the problem is that people start looking at their health when they get signs of illness. And I think unfortunately, Bill, you're muted.
I know that goes into the whole thing, Sarah, about affluent outside of the metrics preventative. People going to the Mayo Clinic for executive physicals as a preventive measure is few and far between.
Yeah.
That's the typical healthcare inside the matrix. The inside the matrix is I'm sick, I go to the doctor, they give me pills, I get dependent on the pills. It has side effects that impact my activity level, and I start a slow spiral downward. That's the typical inside the matrix, right? So I would say the Mayo Clinic is outside the matrix. You're biohacking your body by understanding what your body needs and requires and where you are so you can take preventative measures. So I kind of view that as a little different than the normal person with insurance going to the doctor.
It's very socioeconomic driven.
Yep.
Absolutely. But I do think that trends are started that way. And I think, excuse me, I think because of the economics of people getting sick, the world is beginning to look, at least trying to look or move towards more preventative medicine.
Right. Well, I mean, Brent, you have a ton of experience in this realm with Cooper Institute, Cooper Clinic. Like when Cooper started his stuff, Dr. Cooper started his stuff, that wasn't the typical inside the matrix healthcare, right?
No, it wasn't. He almost got blackballed by the medical community when he first started what we now call the executive physicals. But fortunately, we've come a long way. But Sarah's right. And the McKinsey report mirrors what we talked about last year from the Global Wellness Institute. They talked about the wealth, WELL divide, the wealth divide when it comes to biohacking and the availability of that. That's an interesting trend for sure. Okay, Sarah, Bill, actually, we're on to ABC Fitness Solutions data. They always do such a great job, and they're obviously sponsoring this show again, but they do some great research, and I'm so glad they share it with us on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's they've been a great partner for us, for IHRSA, for the industry, and the information that they're gathering. They have a huge data set, right? I mean, they have access, as do other member management software type companies, but ABC's always just stepped up and done some great stuff. So can we have the graphic up? 23%. So this is big box gym usage based on ABC's report. 23% of the reasons for non-members to join is they don't feel the club is welcoming, right? So what are we doing to welcome people from the beginning? And I believe that retention starts in marketing, how you're portraying your club to the public. It doesn't start once they become a member. It starts before, they even step in the door. So, and that's going to be a trend you're going to see in all the rest of the trend reports. What's your member journey? What's your welcoming? How are you approaching that? 20% of the reason for canceling, they don't feel the gyms are focused on health and safety protocols, that they don't feel that the clubs are doing enough to provide a nice environment. 59% of the people would rejoin if the membership were more affordable, which to me is one of our biggest sources of membership in a lot of our clubs is former members. We'll see each month, maybe 10% or more of our sales, our new memberships are from people that have been members in the past. And that kind of increases the longer you've been open. So are you can do something like, rejoin at your old rate. You can do lots of creative things here, but really focusing on trying to get people to rejoin without them having to jump through the barriers, maybe not have to pay another enrollment fee if you charge that, or not have to sign a contract and go month to month if you do that. But there's all kinds of things we can do there. But looking at your alumni members or your former members and really focusing on that. 72% number one activity is working out on their own. So what this is saying is that, 28% are not using personal training services. They're doing their own routine. They're coming in and doing their thing. Blair and I were talking about this. The whole group was talking about this the other day. Most people go in and aren't using a device, looking at a workout, or aren't using a trainer. Most people go in and are just doing their thing, a lot of times to their detriment, because they're doing the same thing for month after month after month after month. But 72% working on their own. And then the last trend that they were talking about here was 31%. The number two activity is group fitness. And then that bears out in my next topic that I'm going to get to a little bit later from some Les Mills research. that people like to work out in groups. And Sarah's been preaching this, mantra, her whole career. And that's not going away. And it's probably going to just keep increasing. We're social creatures. We like to be around other human beings and get that energy. So I just found these 5 points in this particular framework to be a good topic for a meeting with staff and to rethink, your whole approach with regard, are we doing enough with regard to these kinds of things? Guys, what do you think?
So I'll jump in there real quick. One of the interesting things, you have the 31%, by the way, 31% group fitness, I think we all know that's a very big number. Right? If 31%, if I had 31% of my people coming into group fitness, that would be unbelievable. The 72% that are coming in to do individual workouts also like to work out in a group. That's why they're coming into your gym. I think that's
work out in the community of a group, maybe not in the group.
Right.
That's where I thought group fitness referred to, I think it included small group training.
Okay. That would make sense.
Yeah.
That makes more sense to me, Sarah. Yeah. Yeah. And then would come in if it was more welcoming. I think when Bill says, I think retention starts with marketing, Peter Drucker said the first key to keeping a customer is getting the right customer in the first place. Mm-hmm. And I think it's incredible. We've talked about this before. I think it's incredibly important to be authentic. We market our clubs as the cleanest, friendliest, most helpful clubs you'll ever join. We didn't do that until we could actually measure it and say that, yep, we hit this on clean, friendly, helpful. So I think it's really important that you are what you say you are when people come.
Blair,
in.
is there any kind of member experience measurement tool out there available for the industry? Is there anything like that?
I was thinking about that and wondering just exactly what somebody might use.
Whatever. I was shocked by the affordability because we have chanted over and over again, raise your rates, raise your rates, raise your rates. And then it was almost 60% of everybody said they would rejoin if it was more affordable.
Yeah, I'm always a little skeptical. I'm always a little skeptical of that one. What's your income level? Minimum wage is now $15.25 in Wenatchee, Washington. I'm always a little bit leery of that. More affordable for what? At an Equinox all club level or?
Well, that's it. It's a big box. This is what ABC, they've divided things up and this was a big box usage summary.
Yeah, this isn't, I would join if it's more affordable. This is, I would rejoin if it's more affordable.
Right.
So this is a group of people that quit for some reason. And if more affordable meaning maybe I don't see the value for the price, or it may be I can't afford it. It could be two different ends of the spectrum. Right. So, and it's also a question. If I ask my members at a club that doesn't have a pool, would you like us to have a pool? 100% are going to say, yeah, I'd like you to have a pool. Right. Yep. 5% are going to use it. Okay. So 95% are just going to say, I would like it. I think this kind of goes, would you like it to be more affordable? Would you rejoin if it were more affordable? Yeah, I would,
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's not just rejoin like they quit. A lot of times they were forced to leave because the doors were shut because of the pandemic.
Could be that.
So I don't know. I might still disagree with that. I think we've got to look at price.
Yeah.
And raise it.
Exactly. I'm still in the camp of raise it.
All right, I'm going to talk about ACSM trends, and I'm going to start with a video. So take a look, guys. So I really like this. I like this because I like to see what's going on with ACSM. The world follows ACSM trends. You got to look at where they're coming from, though. You're talking the majority are personal trainers, at least 20%, and 18% are academicians. So you're really looking at it from one perspective. And then SCW, we're like 74% group X, and then it trickles down personal trainers and in the gym. So you get this interesting separation. And Walter Thompson, amazing research, has been doing ACSM trends research for 17 years. And what they found this year, fascinating, is that typically they get over 4,000 respondents. Now they only had about 3,700. So it dropped by about 30%. And they were like, oh, we're so confused. Why did this happen? Hello, 25 to 30% of the gyms have closed. So we have less resources, we have less people in our industry. And SCW experienced the exact same drop. So let's look at what ACSM did. Wearable technology, number one. Last year, this year. Home exercise gyms was number 2. Last year, it's gone completely. It didn't even make the top 20. Outdoor activities dropped. Strength training with free weights totally went up. Exercise for weight loss dropped, which we know. We think people are looking at wellness, not at how much I'm going to weigh. And then personal training dropped just a little bit, but HIIT training remained the same, but still down there, number 7. Body weight training went up. Online and on-demand classes, totally gone. Health and wellness coaching, gone. Okay, which I was surprised at for ACSM. With SCW, so much stayed the same. Active aging, functional training, strength training, core training, nutrition was up there, exercise science. HIIT training went down. Personal training went a little bit up. Group cardio was gone. Small group training was gone. And I know we looked at that big box research with Bill, and group was way up there. I got to tell you, the number of classes have diminished and the attendance has gone down slightly. It's for me in my industry, it's a little scary. But let's look at both ACSM and SCW. We got 5 big hits here: functional training, active aging, strength training, personal training, HIIT training. And the 2 for SCW, brand new areas that fit into our top 10, which really surprised us, which won't surprise these lovely gentlemen, are foam rolling and recovery. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So what do you guys think?
Sarah, you know, one thing I noticed on ACSM, their number 1 was wearables, and that didn't even make SCW's top 10.
Isn't that crazy? But maybe it's because SCW is group X, okay? Right. And ACSM is, you know, personal trainers and academicians.
Yeah.
You know, an observation as we look at all these different trends, where they source their information, looking at where ACSM sourced their information was pretty much from inside the industry, from technologists, you know, people that are technically, you know, tied into the industry. It seems to me that there's, you know, sort of delivery versus desire. And when we talk about these things, that ACSM says these are the trends, it's almost like, you know, as professionals, these are the ways that we want to deliver. When you look at HIIT training and functional training, and that's not like how the consumer talks. It's just not how the consumer talks. Then some of the others, like maybe the thing coming up with the search from Google and maybe the mind body, like what do they desire? Like what are they trying to describe? And I think we need to. I can almost, my mind is almost forming this framework right now. That's yeah. Delivery versus desire. And also, I think the biggest trend we're seeing in everything is the move from extrinsic motivation to intrinsic motivation. And so sometimes you look at these and you say, wow, that doesn't cross up with this trend list at all. But that's because of how we're sourcing the information. The professionals want to deliver it this way, the consumer is desiring this, and that's informing these professionals. So anyway.
Well, and it's like, are we being marketed to want these things? Or do we really feel this way? And with SCW, these are trainers. These are people looking towards the future. So maybe this is something that they want to do, you know, and this is predictive. I don't know.
Near-term future, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's going to be a bunch of variety in the trends list because we're going to continue on with several more that'll be different than even these several that Sara showed us already. So Bill, you're up next with Les Mills trends. What do they have?
Yeah, I mean, Les Mills has done, again, they have a big data set of members. They've got instructors in their network, they've got clubs as clients, they have members that take the programming. So there are two different reports that I kind of cited and want to give a little bit of information about. One was how can clubs fight against Apple's fitness expansion? Apple is about to make Apple Fitness Plus available on the iPhone without having to buy the watch. And that's a big commitment. It's estimated that Apple has 1.2 billion iPhone users. So 1.2 billion people having access to Apple Fitness Plus versus whatever percentage of those have the watch as well. As comparison, that's 73%, according to the article, bigger than Planet Fitness's membership base, which was estimated in August to be 16.5 million members. So Apple's going aggressively in to this fitness space, and that's a big deal. So in that report, there were 8 trends. I'm going to just hit on them really quickly. We'll have the links to the articles again in the chat. Embracing omni fitness. A lot of us don't have the money to compete with the Apples and the Googles and the Yahoos of the world. So embracing other people's delivery systems and not being walled in, but expansive. How do I use other technology and other platforms and the big tech companies to leverage my member experience and my delivery? Reimagining the member journey. We talked about that in the ABC data, right? Number one was making members feel welcome. What does that member journey look like? Leveraging digital to drive your reach, using digital to drive reach and expansion. Join the dots, making sure your digital is aligned with your in-club experience, not two separate experiences as far as what they can deliver. Video on demand can differentiate you. Outdoor, accessible, we talk about accessibility, but emphasizing your edge in the marketplace. And the other ones were supercharge your social experience, 67%. 2/3 of gym members, want to work out in groups. Again, back to the group exercise component, how attractive it is. Celebrate your stars, celebrate your staff. Hiring is harder than it's ever been. And so really acknowledge and celebrate your staff and make them the heroes within your organization. The second one was 7 standout fitness trends to get in shape for 2023. And this was a little shorter. From cannibalism to coexistence. So we used to think that digital and wearables were cannibalizing our membership. They're not. We're coexisting with them and we're expanding. We've all known that some of the boutiques, 40-50% of their members are members of traditional clubs as well. This is a new generation active. And so really looking at that activity level inside and outside of the box. TikTok, they call it Fit Talk. How do you leverage Fit Talk, TikTok to increase the next generation of members? And if you're not paying attention to TikTok, you're missing a big behemoth of a platform. It's incredible, the size. So when you look at Apple, when you look at VR, VR's virtual reality is growing and growing and growing, and people are doing it.
Hey, Bill, sorry to interrupt, but just yesterday here in Texas, the University of Texas banned access to TikTok on their university portal web address.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that because of the Chinese ownership and the data breach that occurred?
That's about the
think so,
fifth
yeah.
or- that's about the fifth
I
or
think
sixth.
it was also certain postings that went up.
It's a 5th or 6th institution or government that has actually done that in the last 60 days or so.
Yeah, interesting.
Well, the last thing just to mention is that wellness isn't going away. 78% of consumers find health to be more important than they've ever considered it. And so the wellness trend is not going away. And that piece of information was from the 2022 fitness report. So when we're looking at these things, you look at the ABC, you look at McKinsey, now you look at Les Mills's research, citing other sources, you look at what Apple's doing, and the whole show's about these different trends and to kind of put them all in to see where there's overlap and where there's differences based on the audiences. So it's just really kind of interesting. Apple, TikTok, what's happening. And I just find it fascinating. And I think we've just got to pay close attention and keep evolving and not stick to the old status quo.
Yeah, I
Your
like what,
favorite quote, go ahead, Sarah.
oh, I was just saying, I like what Greg said. He said, you can't ignore it. You can't put your head in the sand. You got to look at this. You got to integrate it into your system at your gym. We don't want Apple to do to online fitness training what they did to the music industry. We don't want it to kill it. So we got to embrace it.
Yeah, fair point. That's a lot of good stuff, Bill. But your favorite quote to me was, you said, the Yahoos of the world. And I was just thinking, I know of all those people.
Some right here.
Yeah,
Those,
I'm right on the show.
those Texas Yahoos.
Okay, Sarah, are you doing Mind Body for us?
I'm doing Mind, Body, and Wellness. What a surprise. I have another video.
Really?
I like this. Short and sweet, guys. So this was a really short video, and it just like nails it. It just goes into what's going on with wellness. But we have to realize a lot of people still think mind, body, oh, it's all yoga studios and Pilates centers. No, it's everybody. There's so many people logged in and are using mind, body. When they did this research, it was 17,000 consumers. That's enormous. That's like 4 times as many people that were conducted in ACSM's research. So we need to look at it. Strength in numbers, it's all about wellness. Nearly half, or 43% of people, are saying community is important. You guys, we have to pay attention to that. Connectedness, wellness. And if you do community building activities, people want to join your gym and your facility. So that's cool. And Mind Body is online, but it does a lot of live studios. Also, going back to your roots, of course, natural lifestyle. 40% say they spend time outside training. Don't get rid of your outside training programs. Keep them. 24% said that they do nature walks and things like that. Think about doing that. Forest bath, having retreats, or just simply having a weekly walking class. And 40% are trying antigens, which I'm embarrassed to say I had to look up what that meant. And it's anything that reduces your stress and returns the body to homeostasis, and especially in millennial men. So I thought that was interesting. And then in Generation W, the wellness generation, emotional, inclusive, it's a little bit younger. It focuses on the mental aspect. And we found that when we posted ads, we need a couple staff for SCW, we're hiring. We changed our ad, included the words, my son's girlfriend is in HR, has her master's degree. She said, Sarah, throw in work-life balance, and also we're very family friendly. Threw it in, boom, got more applicants. So think about that. And then 39% say that they prefer women-only's gym. And this is the next topic, big female energy. 24% of women want proper fitness attire. And I'm not talking all these little broad tops and tight things that I see in Aspen. It's a little frightening. 35% of women between the ages of 18 and 50 structure their workouts around their menstrual cycle. So I'm not saying, yeah, suddenly Bill McBride lifts his head up, but it's pretty interesting that, yes, athletes have always looked at this, but this is getting a little bit, into health club area. And they also talked about sexual fulfillment in this big female area. Longevity was number 5, very powerful. Functional fitness for longer, more fulfilled life. 30% of people say that they exercise not because they necessarily want to live longer, but they want that healthy lifestyle. I know, Blair, that makes you happy. And they were focusing on strength training, and 47% of the people that were researched said that they were very interested in recovery. And it had to do with sleep, it had to do with stretching, etc. Restorative yoga, things like that. And 26% of Americans practice biohacking, which another thing we've been talking about, do-it-yourself biology to make improvements in your health or well-being. So I thought this was cool stuff. What do you guys think? They're speechless.
Yes.
Well, first time I've heard the concept of big female energy being a thing, but I knew it was a thing, but I've never heard it labeled.
Yeah.
The biohacking thing's huge. I mean, everything we do to make our lives better is a biohack to some degree. Blair's been preaching that sermon for a long time. And, but it is interesting that every time we've done trends in the last, I don't know how many months, strength keeps coming up. Strength training keeps coming up, you know, and I think Blair's pointed out in the past, you know, people can do cardio anywhere outside, but to have variety with strength, you know, it's nice to have all the toys in one place, you know, around other people. So this whole concept of strength, and then getting back to the more you strength train, the more important it is for having the recovery and the restorative stuff. So they kind of go hand in hand to me as far as symbiotic relationship.
You know, interesting too, as you were going through those, I was flipping through some of the research articles that McKinsey puts, I think towards the end of this article. And you brought this up before, Sara, on a previous show about the forest bathing, and they didn't term it that way, but you brought that term up again. Recent randomly controlled experiment demonstrated that exposure to nature for 60 minutes reduced stress and improved the brain's ability to successfully navigate future stressors. And so I'm kind of mapping a lot of this research to a lot of the trends you were showing there. There was a recent article that came up on my newsfeed about fit communities, how communities built around fitness are really paying off. This idea of more and more so it's not just, you think about small group, large group, and then like really large group, right? Like the whole community. You probably see it in Aspen, certainly in Sun Valley, Idaho. Certainly there's a lot of that here in Wenatchee. So yeah, very good.
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Sara. So this next trends list is from Men's Health. It's, I would say, a little more holistic, a little maybe broader, not from a survey, but here's they did a top 23 given 2023. And I just want to hit on 5 of them real quick. First one, here's that word again. The title was, "You'll Hack Your Stress Levels." And it goes on to explain, you know, there's this growing interest in recovery, relaxation, rejuvenation, refresh, all those components that clubs are trying to figure out how to provide and are becoming more readily available to people, not just in facilities, but also in their homes, right? With the cryo tubs now that you can put in your own home, et cetera. The meditation apps are becoming bigger. Meditation pods are coming out by Hydro Massage. There's a wrist appliance called Apollo Neuro that is sending out vibrations based on your breathing to help calm you and make you de-stress. So hacking your stress level, that's one of theirs. Number 11 was "You'll Hit Closer to Home." And yes, HIT is like the HIT workout program, but it reminds us that now 42%, according to McKinsey, now work from home at least some of the time. They don't go into work every day. And with that shift of where people are working comes their desire to live, eat, work, shop, and get their workouts in, maybe in a closer geographic area than they might have in the past. So one of their suggestions was micro studios might be on the rise, small, more intimate workout facilities that are, you know, able to be in a lot of different places. So we'll see where that takes us. Number 14, outdoor fitness. We've spoke on that. That's been one of the top trends going into the pandemic. Coming out of the trends is continuing to grow, so much so that according to research by Mintel, 1 in 4 people now want to pursue some sort of outdoor recreational active activity. And that's up 16% even from 2021. Number 19, something we've touched on, but they very specifically, and I like that they said it this way in Men's Health magazine, was that gyms will be social hubs. Of course, we've been a social hub for quite some time. We saw the feedback over and over throughout the pandemic about what people missed from their gym, and that sense of community was at the forefront. And that's continuing on. And so you see a lot of clubs now developing social events, anything they can do to build more that sense of community by organically growing groups within the club, as well as staging special events throughout the day. And then the last one speaks to what I think Blair was talking about with these fit communities. And I really like this one. The title was "You'll Detox Your Digital Life." And ... And it said, for real this time, meaning people really are ready to put down their phones. They're tired of, this sort of internet addiction that's going on, and they're wanting what they're terming Wi-Fi holidays, where they're phone free, they're technology free. That phones are causing a lot of the stress. Deloitte's recent research shared that phone users look at their phone 35 or more times every single day, checking to see what's going on. And so there's a company now called Unplugged, which offers trips and excursions. However, when you start that trip, which is for 3 days, they put your phone in a lockbox until you come back. So they're forcing you to sort of get off the grid. As many of you know, I have a ranch here in very rural Texas, which has no cell service, has no internet. And exactly what Blair was describing. I can go down there and I know I'm out of reach for people for several days, and there's nothing better. It's so de-stressing to put yourself in that situation. So it's Men's Health's top trends.
I'm mapping some of this back to this McKinsey article. Of a lot of the examples they give of recent research, there's only one that is stated negatively. More than 5 hours of daily social media use was associated with between 35 and 50% increased risk of depressive symptoms in adolescents. And they're seeing that more and more. Maps nicely to that. The one I really liked out of this whole list you didn't cover on, Bill, and it's number 7, a good walk spoiled. You'll spoil a good walk. If anybody knows what I'm talking about. Way more people taking up golf, right?
Yes. Well, to your point, Blair, I want to read this quote. This is from one of the top social media influencers. And even though this is really where they made their name, they said, my phone is the source of almost every single negative emotion that I feel day in and day out.
Wow. Amazing.
That's a bold statement.
Yep.
It is a bold statement, but it's not always true. I have a family group chat, and we send things back and forth, and we stay connected. Like, sure. And I got in New York and Connecticut and Colorado and Chicago, and I do like it. But I will say that when I read that, I look at that detox, the digital life, I keep my phone on the table. I went to dinner with about 9 friends last night. I was like the only one with her phone on the table. And I quickly slipped it down and sat on it. So
yeah, but the quote didn't say
but I keep it on because I'm worried about Max, that he's going to get injured in hockey.
Yeah, but it didn't say that the phone wasn't a source of good experiences as well. It said all of my negative experiences come as a result of dealing with something on the phone.
That's true.
Or with my phone. So the quote didn't necessarily say that the phone didn't have good. It just said all of the negative stuff that happens comes around that.
It would be interesting to say, it would be interesting to look at, though, to say, why is one negative and why is one positive? And I would venture a guess that the one that's positive, what you're describing, like I have with my family, is that you're yourself. You're not pretending to be something else. You're not promoting anything. You're talking to your family, and there's not necessarily any filter whatsoever there. I mean, that's way different, I think, than how people use kind of the more broad social media. So, but I agree with you, Sarah, because I get such a joy out of my early morning text messages from my brothers. Couldn't share them with anybody, but I get
Don't want to know.
Well, speaking of text messages, Blair, tell us what the top Google searches are around this soul wellness issue are.
Yeah, so this is pretty cool. This is they wrapped up 2022 looking at all the top health related Google searches literally around the world. So we're talking about millions of searches. So the good news is that the top search the prior year was COVID-19. How to prevent COVID-19? How do I not have, extreme symptoms from COVID-19? It didn't show up in 2022. In fact, so you think about health, right? So this is all, they say health related searches. Number one, they group under workouts. Well, this bodes well for us. Workouts were a big focus of conversation this year. Body weight workouts, weekly workouts, exercising for mental health, core workouts at the gym, all were among the popular health searches. So among the entire category, because you'll see how disparate this category at first seems. Second one was coping with difficult emotions, how to handle stress, how to stop a panic attack, how to cure depression, focus with ADHD. Excuse me, I couldn't focus there for a second. The next kind of broad group was journaling, podcasts, and books. Expressive writing works for a number of and then lastly was dial 988. And if you're familiar with that, National Suicide Prevention Lifeline for mental health crisis. Numbers as simple as 3 digits, 988. Top 4 categories and millions of searches across Google. And so we're talking about delivery versus desire, right? And I think just sort of the thing I love about Google search research is they're not asking any questions. They're just saying what people sitting in their spare time trying to figure something out. What are they trying to figure out? The real plus side of that was the number one category was workouts. We can move on if you want. Yeah.
No, I thought that was really interesting, Blair. I appreciate you sharing that. That's yeah, it's good to see all those inquiries about workouts and the fact that COVID-19 wasn't at the top of the list anymore. That's really encouraging to see.
Yeah, but the mental health and the stress and the suicide still right there. And and so that's doesn't seem to be abating as quickly as we would probably like it to, so really keeping the pedal down on that topic and service level. What are we doing for stress, and what are we doing for anxiety, and what are we doing for depression, and what are we doing in those areas, and tying that back to activity.
And especially younger adults. I really think this pandemic has an enormous impact it's going to be long lasting for high school students, college students. There was so much isolation, also the lack of education that they received. I wonder the impact in a decade, what's going to happen with that.
It just feels like it's going to be massive unless people are really doing a lot of really good, advocacy for themselves and self-care. And, I don't know. The pandemic had a huge impact on me, and talking to staff last night about this and how I've said it just sort of sucked the joy out of the gym for our frontline people. Well, I discovered it sort of happened like that with me as well. And, I've been working a lot on how do I bring more of that excitement back into kind of day to day. And so I'm a 4:45 a.m. in the gym, train during the day, see the same people. And so I decided I'd try something different. I've started to alternate the gyms. I work either of our 2 gyms and go at different times a day. And I'm stunned how quickly that has me more excited about the gyms, seeing people that, this is our 40th anniversary this year for our gyms, seeing people that joined 40 years ago that I maybe haven't seen in 10 years. And it's been I'm looking kind of for those small things that kind of erase the memory of that, of the pandemic and all that anxiety and angst that we went through. And I imagine a lot of people, like Sara was pointing out about the kids staying at home and that man, I just think we're going to be paying a price on that one for a long freaking time.
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. Education level, they say a lot of these kids lost the equivalent of 2 years worth of education.
Yeah, very good. Well, Kay, congratulations on your upcoming 40-year. Blair, how old would that make you, man?
Hey, I'm 63. I'll be 64 in June.
Yeah,
Baby. I
youngster.
say that because I'm 63.
All right. Well, along this, it's really actually a pretty good segue to a few unique New Year's campaigns. And I have to say, I was really excited to see there's a new play out there rather than just low price or rather than come lose weight. And here's a Planet Fitness video. Hopefully you've already seen it on TV.
Rub these little weenies, not with my low E.
Millions are suffering from low energy, commonly called low E.
Conga line around the family room? Not with my low E.
With my low E, I can't even blow this guy.
Well, I live this way. Planet Fitness replaces low E with Big E, which keeps you energized and glowing all day. Simply join through the free PF app. $1 down, $10 a month, cancel anytime. Deal ends January 12th.
Look at my wieners now.
Yeah, so as you can see there, Planet rolled out this promotion. It's been all over the media platforms starting the new year. And the good news about it is that they're all about this low energy and not so much about just weight loss. And they're calling it Find Your Big Fitness Energy and touting the benefits of exercise and being active with increasing energy levels in a pretty humorous way. And it's gone over for them pretty well. And it was motivated by all these statistics that we've been seeing around mental health challenges, as well as their own survey. Planet did their own survey nationwide and discovered 89% of individuals reported not having the energy level that they thought they should have at whatever age they were at. Some of those people attributed just to aging, and others attributed to a wide variety of things. But without equivocation, those 89% said they'd be willing to give up any number of different things. And they offered, I'd give up watching TV. I'd give up my coffee for a month. I'd give up all these different things if I could just get more energy. And so it's good to see one of the leaders in our industry step up and not just focus on weight loss.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that campaign. 3 things that come to mind for me on that campaign: humor, optimism, and immediate gratification.
Yes.
I mean, it's so smart. Sarah, you're on mute. Jump in there.
I was just going to say, and diversity. I love the marketing.
Yeah.
I always look at who was the host. It was an older gentleman. I think he was 50 plus. And then we had an African-American, a Black person, being the client. Then you had a woman, and it was very diverse. I like that.
Yeah, good point. Good catch. And the other one I wanted to point out, sort of at the other end of the spectrum. So we got Planet Fitness, $10 a month, low cost. And here's Equinox, who went out with their creative marketing team around this concept of we don't speak January. And if you miss this, Equinox closed their clubs on January 1, and they didn't allow people to sign up or join or purchase a membership on January 1 either. And the whole message was about this concept of we don't speak January, which means we're here 365 days a year. Your commitment to fitness isn't about a New Year's resolution. It's about a commitment to lifestyle. And initially, I think there was a few people out there on social media saying, oh, I can't believe Equinox is doing this. It doesn't seem in very good taste, et cetera. But overwhelmingly, there's been a really good positive response to it. And I actually quite like it, talking about it's a lifetime commitment to exercise. And that's what they're promoting, which is great. And the numbers have borne them out that this has been a really creative idea. They've had 52% increase in website traffic, and their membership sales were 30% greater month to date when compared to last January. So it ended up being a really good campaign for them to kick off the new year. It's creative. Again, it's unique, and it's reinforcing And again, that it's a long-term commitment. It's a way of life. It's not just, oh, I'm going to make a New Year's resolution, stick for it a while and drop out. So I thought that was, again, two big players making two influential promotional positions to start the new year off.
Reminds me of Marty Neumeier's book, Zag. If anybody remembers the marketing book, Zag, when everybody zigs, you zag. Kind of both of these campaigns have done a really good job of that, right? And paid off and appear to have really paid off. Yeah.
But you also have to look at that and you go, what's the socioeconomic level of the person who joins Equinox?
Yep.
It's hard for a lot of people to make a whole lifestyle change. That requires a lot of, I don't know, money in the bank, I guess.
So I'm going to tie back to the very first thing we did on McKinsey. They have a whole section in here talking about what's in the matrix versus outside the matrix. They break down the word lifestyle and how inside the matrix people think about lifestyle, but how the investments outside the matrix are thinking about lifestyle and who can impact lifestyle. Companies like Apple. They said literally every single company, every single organization, and every single individual could have a responsibility for improving lifestyle. So again, I'm going to push people to take that article and then also put it in the context of the trends that we've seen here today, kind of the campaigns that a couple of big companies are doing. They're not just saying, what should we run this month? Those guys take they reduce a lot of risk before they spend that money marketing. Pretty impressive.
And they spend a lot of money on that marketing. Yep. So it's a deep well, one we can learn from. So
really smart
it's two ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, which is really kind of cool to see. Yep.
They both took a risk.
Yep.
They did do that. So we had planned, I think, as we started this new year to try and keep the show to about an hour, if I remember correctly, and we're at the top of the hour. So we're happy to answer, a couple quick questions if people have them. Otherwise, we'll sign off and appreciate your attendance. And we'll see you in a little bit. Yeah, Blair.
Well, we have a few questions in there, and Bill's going to give us a wrap up.
Yeah, that's right. Go ahead, Bill. We'll let you wrap up.
Yeah, let me do a quick wrap up. Price break going away, increases February 1. So sign up for IHRSA. Also, Rex is having a big event at Petco, March 19th on that Sunday. So we started talking about, little around the room stuff. Brent brought up, non-active, regular, non-club people. I think I got that right.
Non-athletic, regular people.
Yeah. Okay. Close. But Blair took us into McKinsey and 8 key points, and he kept bringing us back there. I'm not going to spend much time recapping what Blair talked about there because, he kept bringing it back. But a lot of the things we saw in all these other places were there. The mental, he really highlighted the inside, the healthcare matrix versus outside, and what that means with longevity. One of the key things, health is a spectrum. It's not just, there's a lot of different places with regard to vitality and health. I gave you a little bit on ABC research, the big box usage summary, all those are accessible to you out there. Sara talked about the ACSM trends and how they're, really one of the top organizations with regard to what's going on. And number one was wearables, and that keeps popping up. And, I shared a little bit about Apple and the Les Mills stuff. And so when you start thinking about this, you got to look omni-channel. You got to look more broad than you've ever looked before with regard to how you're interacting with your people. Sara took us to mind-body wellness trends, big female energy, and strength and recovery were two of the things that really popped out there again. And so then Brent took us over to men's health and talked about hacking your stress levels. We spent a lot of time talking about biohacking and really looking at these things from a perspective of the consumer, hit closer to home, bringing fitness options closer to people's houses as more and more people are working remotely. Blair took us to the Google search trends. Great news, workouts and exercise, core, number one's place. But the mental health and the stress stuff is still very prominent at number 2 and 3. New Year's campaigns, we went over that just now. Brilliant marketing. So that's kind of a recap of where we are right now, Brent. And I think that really interesting to look at all these things from different perspectives and see what overlaps and what doesn't.
Right. Thanks, Bill. Great job as always. Appreciate that. So everyone, we really appreciate y'all tuning in with us. Sorry we ran over just a little bit today, but we hope you enjoyed the show. You got certainly a download of trends in your mind, and we'll be back again here in a few months. And we look forward to having you again. Hope you're having a great, awesome start to January 2023 and this new year. All the best. Thanks for joining us.
Everybody.
See you next time.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.